Welcome back to Omya's podcast, where we are not just exploring but uncovering the imperative aspect of business success. I'm your host, Bijana Regmi, and today we have incredible Manjula Banerji ma'am sharing insights that go beyond the ordinary. Manjula ma'am, having retired as an audit and assurance partner from Deloitte, is a distinguished chartered accountant with an impressive 4 decades of experience in the corporate world. In addition, Manjula ma'am is also a certified professional executive coach. Manjula ma'am is here to delve into transformative power of coaching in various business dimensions. So, ma'am, considering your background in corporate leadership and coaching, first let's discuss the fundamental role of coaching in bringing about awareness and internal change. How does coaching generally contribute to this transformative process?
Good afternoon, Vijana. Thank you very much for taking out time for this podcast and a lovely introduction. So, when I look into your question, I thought just let me take a step back and then let you know what is actually coaching, right? It is an intentional conversation between a coach and the client, which helps in improve thinking and positive change. A coach is not your boss, he's not your manager. He's not your therapist. He is not your counselor, he or she. He is or she is a person who is willing to spend time with you to help you to think of the best possible solutions for yourself. Coaching is not telling someone anything, it's more about asking them what is it that they believe they can do or they do not want to do. It's all dependent on the acceptance or what the willingness of the client. Everything that they are going to decide, this is how it's to be done. And when they do it, then they may succeed or may they not succeed, and then something else opens up. A person getting somewhere reaches a peak and there's no joy, they're just existing. They find a coach. And then they're able to do three things. First, when they have conversations, they're able to notice many things about themselves, which can be very different from what they say or what they believe. Then they are able to give it a name, whether it is their feelings, whether it's anger, whether it's guilt, whether it's regret, whatever. Because a lot of it, that emotions, that they are able to bring emotions out, they're able to notice it, they're able to notice their behaviors, their words, everything about themselves like never before. And when they name it, then it is something which is black and white in front of them, and it's not something which is invisible in their brain. We are able to then find ways in which they are able to navigate the path where they are and where they want to go. And all that will come in the form of goals, strategies, and actions. So, in this aspect, when you look at awareness and internal change, and you've also talked about the transformation. Now, when a person gets coached, that is a time when it is their personal time, where they are able to think about themselves as people, as a person, rather than getting driven every day by targets for the roles that they have signed up for, whether personal or professional. The first thing that a coach helps a coachee is to bring awareness of what they are actually doing, how are they thinking. When this awareness comes, the coachee then realizes that what they were thinking and what they came up with is very different from reality. And then it's for them to accept it and then to find solutions to their challenges. So the acceptance is very relevant and is very important that the coachee or the client accepts that they want to be coached. This is when awareness gets built, then they move from a mechanical way of living life to a magnetic way of living life, where they're thinking, where they're aware, they are able to actually see how they are in their daily lives. So with this awareness, lot of doors and windows start opening in their life. They were cocooned in a certain way of living, certain way of thinking, certain way of behaving, and then they want to get better, they want to grow. So personally, it empowers, this awareness empowers them towards self belief and then self development. So in this way, when every individual in an organization or in whichever setting, in a family, whichever setting, when they take up the responsibility of their self development, then every day they have to develop themselves and get better because they want to. And that is how they are able to then also give good performance or better performance, find solutions, find new ideas, new ways of thinking, and then they contribute to their own growth and the growth of the organization. I hope I was able to answer what you're saying, because everything is internal. When there's awareness, it's all internal.
Yes, my
Uh,
intriguing insights. So we just discussed about awareness. Now moving on to the goal setting part. After we have awareness about ourselves, if I'm not wrong, the second step would be goal setting. So could you elaborate on how coaching, in a broader sense, influences individuals in setting and achieving goals? What kind of changes are typically facilitated by coaching to align with these objectives?
reason why someone wants to be coached is to move the needle from where they currently are and to put themselves in a better place. Coaching is very, very scientific. Coach will always ask the coachee for the agenda for discussion. What are the outcomes that the coachee wants at the end of the conversation, which could be 45 minutes to 1 hour? So there's always a gap. And the gap is where the coach is like a bridge between what people want or they aspire and facilitate them to actually achieve it. There's always something we call a GSA model, which is basically goals, strategies, and actions. If a person doesn't have a goal, then it's the likelihood of them achieving it might be very remote. It's only when people have goals that is when they really invest in growing themselves in three different ways, in terms of raising the bar, stretching themselves, and also having depth in anything. And these three stretches which they need is what a coach facilitates. So there is always a goal which the coachee wants or the client wants to achieve. And normally we call it a goal statement. We also give input that keep it as brief as possible so that you can recall it. If you're going to have very long goal statements, you will not even remember it. If you don't remember it, then there's hardly any chance that you're going to work towards it and achieve success. And at any point in time, more than 2 to 3 goals, more than that really might not be feasible for a person to work. So that is what is said, that whatever is very critical for them, they can set goals on those topics or those challenges that a client has. And there is always a strategy for achieving those goals. And strategy, as you're aware, is always very broad. Talks about what is the path or what is the process a person would like to follow or embrace to reach where they want to reach. If you're, say, staying in Greater Kailash and you want to go to Noida, right? So there is a GPS, there is a map which you can, put on your Google and then you reach. So in the same way, it's like a map. There would be various ways, various sessions for conversations for the coach to help the coachee to define this process. And for each strategy, there would be few actions which would be enlisted by the coachee so that this is the action they're going to do. There would be a roadmap in terms of intervals of time, when they're going to do it, how many times are they going to do it. So it depends upon each and every action of that particular case. What I've said can be, it's very structured and it may just sound a bit prescriptive, but it's really not that. It's just a design, and it's for the coachee for to fill that design. Now, if they don't want to do a GSA model, they want to do it in any way, there is always a way that they can find. It's absolutely fine. And they need to be comfortable. They need to commit themselves to the process willingly and joyfully, so that then they are able to move in that direction of where they actually see themselves. And so visioning is very important for goal setting, because unless and until you can see yourself there, if for example, if someone wants to become uh, say a managing director, someone wants to become the CFO, then they really have to see themselves in that place. If they're not able to visualize, very little chance that they'll be able to achieve what they want to achieve. I hope I've been able to again answer your question,
Yes, ma'am.
um,
Excellently
Jana.
answered. The next question that comes up in my mind is about transformation. We talked about awareness, we talked about goal setting. When I talk about transformation, the first thing that comes up in my mind is change. So, transformation often involves overcoming the resistance to change. In your experience, how does coaching generally play a role in navigating this resistance and fostering growth within individuals and organizations?
See, it's very simple. The very fact that a client wants to be coached, and that is the first step which is required, because it, like I said, it comes from within. So when they put themselves on that journey, then they are open, they want to explore, they want to find out, they are curious, they are saying that there must be a way, especially when people, they just feel very stuck in a situation and they are looking for a breakthrough. And that is where, if they get involved in coaching, it is a beautiful process which facilitates um, the breakthrough for them to find solutions. And that is where the transformation takes place. Like I said earlier on in the beginning of our call, that coaching is all about an inner journey. It's an inner change. It's an awareness. With awareness comes shift, realizations. There is always reflections, and then we are able to actually point out that bulk of what the challenge which we face is really within ourselves. And when it's within ourselves, then it is within our own power. That is how we empower ourselves. Then we are not looking out for Mr. X, Mr. Y to empower us. And when we are empowered, it's like sitting on the driving seat of a vehicle or of your life. And then you're able to see what all is available for you. And when we are able to surmount it, that is when the growth actually takes place. That's when the development actually takes place. So once they get into this journey, they are not stuck. They are able to look at things very differently. I always give this example to my to my clients in my coaching conversations, that apple. If you look at an apple, you can cut it into four pieces, right? Slice it one way and slice it the other way. But if I keep slicing the apple into four pieces every day, I'm just getting mechanical. And I'm not going to find anything new. It's a no brainer. But if I were to just look at an apple and say, okay, I want to cut it, laterally, I want to cut it top down, from different angles, I want to cut the apple and see how does the apple look like. That is when I have a growth mindset. I have an open mind then. From a known to an unknown is always scary. So there is fear. And someone wants, is always the flight. Someone wants to run away. That no, I can't do this. Those are limitations of their thought processes. And when they are able to develop a growth mindset, then changes, it's just embraced. They just move towards the change, because when they're resisting, they move away, because that's how human beings are. Either we move towards something, or we move away from something. Yeah. So when they realize that change is the opportunity for their growth to go where they want to go, yeah, then everything, their mannerisms, their thought process, their behaviors, everything comes in. It comes in with lot of effort, because habits don't go away easily. But it's actually replacing unsmart habits with smart habits, which actually brings about transformation within the individual. And that is what they manifest in their duties, in their responsibilities, when they discharge their responsibilities in organizations.
Excellently answered. Many times I have heard a compelling aspect of professional and personal development is embracing the risk. From a coaching perspective, ma'am, how does coaching encourage individuals to take calculated risk, and what broader role does this play in their overall growth?
When an individual is being coached, it's always that they want to do something new, because development always means that bringing in on new aspects, whether it is getting into a new business, it is venturing out into a new industry or a new client. Anything new will bring in risks. It's always for them to be realistic, for them to be grounded, keeping into mind the context of the new areas that they want to venture in, their capability, their inner strength, their personal attributes, what they believe they will be able to achieve. So when they set it up, obviously the new areas means it's risk taking. But it's always, like I said, it's a calculated risk that you take. You know the upside and the downside. If suppose I just talk of something very simple as a technical competence, right? Now, if they've not done an industry and they want to uh, service a client or serve a client in an industry which is new to them, and they believe that that is where it's going to give them mileage, then it's for them to do all that basic work, and all the catch up that is required to know how that industry operates, to build their technical competence, and to actually become subject matter experts, which will require a huge amount of investment of time in study, in understanding the nuances, many things which are critical to understand the industry, and then understand the operations of the client, and then what is the risk which is there. We always take risks, calculated risk, we know. Anything other than that, I believe, would be foolhardy, which obviously will not is not something which a coach will encourage. Sure, the coach will help them to assess if they want to say, okay, I want, this is what is required, this is where I am, and this is how I want to achieve. Sure, it can become an agenda for the next coaching conversation. It's more of common sense, and not doing something which may just expose an individual to risk.
Yeah.
So obviously, they need to take care of that.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, now next question will be about the dynamic nature. Like we live in a very dynamic world and it's all about change and all of that. So, in the context of continuous change, could you shed light on how coaching contributes to maintaining awareness and fostering a mindset of continuous improvement among individuals?
I think coaching itself is, they want to move from where they are currently to a higher realm, to a deeper realm. Change just done once can only get them there, because it is a continuous process. Just because I've learned something, then I may have grown, and I would, coaching would have helped. But if I stop learning, it's not going to happen. So for this continuous development, a person needs to continuously keep learning new things. They become a student of life, and age is no bar. You can learn at any point in time if you're willing, and you invest that time and effort, then anything is possible. With coaching, also, when people are able to understand that it has empowered them, then they want to go deeper, they want to reach higher. It's something which is insatiable. They want more and more of it, because that's where they thrive, and all their latent talents come out and get opportunities to be manifested. Many professions have got something called continuous professional education. For me, it's always about that. First of all, this continuous personal education, that we keep raising the bar, and we keep making sure that we are growing at regular intervals. It's almost like a daily ritual. What did I learn new? Or in a week, what did I learn new? In a month, what did I learn new? And if I'm able to answer that positively, then I know that I've grown. But if a person is not able to answer that, then it's for them to assess and reflect on how they're spending their time. So continuous professional education, continuous personal education or improvement is the order of the day. It's so dynamic, and it's the velocity is so fast. It's actually just uprooting all that we know. And there are just zillions of things that, every day things are coming up. Then that kind of environment facilitates continuous improvement. If we are not doing continuous improvement or continuously upskilling ourselves, we may not be relevant. And that is what coaching is all about.
Beautifully answered, Manjula ma'am. Now, lastly, let's explore the realm of leadership. How has coaching been instrumental in developing leaders who not only drive results but also cultivate a culture of mentorship and empowerment within their teams? Can you just share an experience that underscores the transformative impact of coaching on leadership dynamics?
For me, it's the way I look at leadership. It's first to start with who the person is. If a leader, as a person, invests in his or her own self development on a regular basis, they will be able to bring that person to the workplace and play the role of a leader. When a leader stops learning, there is no growth for the team or for the organization. My own personal journey, like I said, it's almost like 2 decades that I've invested in my own learning, where I realized the importance of investing time in myself on a daily basis. Without that, my day doesn't start. And when people get coached, this is what they are able to understand, that they have hardly spent any time on themselves. It's always about the roles that they have to play, and how those 24 hours in a day get over, they have no clue. And then over a period of time, they realize that they've really not grown in qualitative terms. They could be older by the age. They could keep doing the same thing with minor improvements here and there, with new technology, with, if it's a chartered accountant, the new accounting standards, auditing standards, governance, all that. But it's at a more or less at a fixed level. And that is where they realize that they've been left behind. And that is not something anyone can afford to do in this time and age. This is where, when we have to spend time on ourselves, it is that I need to have a coach whom I can sit with. When we have organizations which invest in learning and development of their people, they care for their people, they connect with their people, they have conversations with their people, that is when a culture is fostered. A leader realizes that someone has invested in him or her. So the same behavior is what they will do with their team members. And that is where the ecosystem of coaching, mentorship, learning, development, training, everything takes place.
Ma'am, your expertise showcases the intricate journey of coaching from raising awareness to fostering continuous change, and lastly, the transformative impact it can have on individuals and organizations. Thank you so much, ma'am, for making time from a busy schedule and providing these fundamental insights. So, hope to do more further podcasts with you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And it's been lovely interacting with you. Thank you
Same,
so much, Vijana. Bye
same here.
bye.
Bye, ma'am. So, for our listeners, stay tuned for more illuminating discussions on Omya's podcast. Until next time, this is Bijana Regmi signing off.